What if a masked robber stormed your train, and the only one to stop him was a man in a baseball cap and sunglasses? Could this unassuming hero be Keanu Reeves, turning an ordinary ride to Sacramento into an unforgettable tale of bravery? Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and please complete our 1,000 subscribers for more inspiring stories. The rhythmic dance of the train's wheels against the tracks painted the morning with their steady beat as it curved gracefully toward Sacramento. For the passengers, this journey was just another thread in the tapestry of their daily lives. A time for scrolling through social media, sipping coffee from travel mugs, or simply watching the world outside blur into a watercolor of landscapes. The air was heavy with the scent of burnt espresso, mingling with the subtle metallic tang of the train, setting a stage for the soft shuffle of newspapers and the muted symphony of conversations. In the corner, almost as if he were part of the train's upholstery, sat a man in a simple baseball cap and sunglasses. His posture was one of deceptive ease, the kind of relaxed stance that seemed to whisper to the world, "I am nobody special." He was unremarkable, anonymous, the kind of presence you'd skip over in a crowd. Yet, there was something about him, a quiet intensity beneath the surface, that a few might have recognized if they hadn't been so ensconced in their own worlds. Near the front, a mother, her eyes shadowed by fatigue, adjusted her child's jacket with trembling hands. 2 rows behind, a teenage boy with a skateboard leaned against his leg, tapping out a rhythm on his thigh, his music loud enough to share with the carriage. And then there was the elderly gentleman leaning on his cane, his warm smiles like small gifts to those who passed by. This was supposed to be just another day, a line of predictable moments stretching into the future. But as they say, life is often just one heartbeat away from turning on its head. As the train eased away from the last station, the passengers were blissfully unaware of the storm that was about to break. The tranquility was shattered by the sharp, echoing clank of boots on metal. Head swiveled as a man, tall and broad, moved with purpose down the aisle, his face concealed by a black ski mask. In his hand, he held a sight that sent a collective shiver down the spine of everyone on board: a gun. "Listen up," his voice boomed, cutting through the train's ambient noise. "Nobody moves, nobody gets hurt." Silence descended like a heavy curtain, the air now thick with fear. Passengers were caught mid-motion. Coffee cups paused at lips, fingers hovering over phone screens, eyes wide with the dawning realization that this was no drill, no figment of a bad dream. This was happening. "Wallets, phones, jewelry, everything into the bag," he demanded, throwing a large, ragged duffel bag onto the floor with a thud that seemed to resonate with every pounding heart. The robber prowled with a predator's calculation, his eyes scanning the carriage, measuring his victims. A young woman in a sharp business suit fumbled with her purse, her hands shaking so violently that she almost dropped it. The robber snatched it away, his glare like ice. "Faster!" he hissed, sending her back a step in fear. Further down, the mother clutched her child closer, her face ashen, trying desperately to shield her little one from the nightmare unfolding. The boy with the skateboard looked around, panic etching his features. No one dared to move or speak. The air was so tense, it was almost tangible. The robber's voice sliced through the silence again. "Anyone tries to play the hero, you'll regret it." His tone was chilling, robotic, as if this were just another day at the office, his threats as sure as the gun in his hand. The passengers were paralyzed, too scared to think, let alone act, but not everyone was held captive by fear. The man in the cap, with a subtle shift of his sunglasses, watched with an unreadable expression, his calm suggesting he was observing more than just the scene in front of him. As the robber continued his menacing march, the sounds of compliance filled the air, the rustle of bags being searched, the clink of jewelry, and the muffled sobs of surrender. He paused at the elderly man, his gun pointed menacingly. "What's in your pockets, old man?" he growled. The old man's hands trembled as he pulled out an aged leather wallet. This is all I have," he stammered, his voice quaking like the leaves outside. The robber grabbed it, tossing it into the bag without a second look, his gaze next landing on the teenager. "You too, kid. Hand over that phone." The boy hesitated, his eyes flicking to his mother's fearful face a few seats ahead. With shaking hands, he extended his phone. "Please, don't hurt anyone," he pleaded softly. But the robber's eyes were relentless, now fixing on the young mother who had tried to blend into the background. "And you," he said, stepping closer, his voice dripping with menace. "Think you're special? Let go of the kid and give me your purse." She shook her head, tears springing to her eyes as she clutched her child tighter. "Please, just let us be," she whispered. The robber's patience snapped. "I said drop it!" he yelled, waving his gun, the threat hanging in the air like a storm cloud. It was at this moment, in this thick, charged atmosphere, that the man in the cap stood up. His sunglasses caught the light, his movement deliberate and calm as he turned to face the robber. "Leave her alone," he said, his voice a cool blade through the chaos. The robber turned, surprise momentarily breaking his facade. "And who the hell are you supposed to be?" he sneered. The man tilted his head, a hint of a smile at the corner of his mouth. "Just someone who's had enough of your performance." The passengers exchanged uncertain glances, the tension in the car crackling like static before a thunderstorm. The robber's eyes narrowed, irritation flickering to confusion. "Sit down before you get hurt," he snapped, gesturing with the gun. But the man didn't sit. He removed his sunglasses, revealing eyes that sparked a whisper of recognition among some passengers. A murmur spread. "Wait, is that—" someone whispered, their voice trailing off into the charged air. He took a step forward, his movements deliberate but not aggressive. "You've terrorized everyone here long enough," he said evenly, "but your control ends here." The robber let out a harsh laugh. "You think you're some kind of tough guy? You think you can stop me?" He stepped closer, the gun now aimed at the man's chest. "I don't care who you think you are. One more step and you're dead." But the man's calm was not of arrogance, but of quiet certainty. "I wouldn't if I were you," he cautioned, his voice like stone. "You're in over your head." The robber's face twisted with frustration. "Oh yeah? What are you going to do about it, old man?" Before the words had fully left his mouth, the man moved with the precision of a master. In one fluid motion, he grabbed the gun's barrel, twisting and pulling it away, the weapon now clattering to the floor. The maneuver was so swift, so expert, it left the robber and everyone else momentarily stunned. Someone gasped, the sound loud in the sudden quiet, as recognition fully dawned. "It's Keanu Reeves!" a passenger exclaimed, their voice echoing through the car. The name hit the robber like a physical blow, his confidence crumbling as he stared at Keanu. "You're joking," he muttered, his eyes darting between Keanu and the disarmed gun. Keanu didn't give him time to recover. "Sit down," he ordered, his voice carrying the weight of authority. The robber hesitated, his gaze scanning for an escape, but it was clear the power had shifted. He was now the one uncertain. The passengers sat in a state of awe and disbelief, witnessing not just a robbery, but a moment of heroism. The robber, in a desperate move, lunged for the gun, but Keanu was quicker, his foot sending it sliding out of reach. "Not today," Keanu stated firmly, standing as a barrier between the robber and the passengers. The robber, now in panic, swung a wild punch at Keanu, who dodged with the grace of a seasoned martial artist, using the robber's momentum to throw him to the ground. The impact was loud, reverberating through the carriage. The robber groaned, dazed, but Keanu didn't relent, pinning him down with a strong grip, his knee pressing into the robber's back. "Stay down," he said, his voice calm but commanding. The air was filled with cheers and gasps of relief. Some clapped, while others looked on in disbelief, trying to grasp the reality of what they'd just witnessed. "Is this really happening?" someone muttered, their voice a mix of awe and disbelief. The young mother, still holding her child, exhaled a shaky breath. "Thank you," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Keanu didn't respond, his focus on the subdued robber. "Someone call 911, he instructed without looking up. The teenage boy, his hands trembling, managed to dial. I'll do it," he stammered. As time ticked by, the robber squirmed beneath Keanu's grip, his threats now hollow. "You don't know who you're messing with," he spat, but there was no conviction left in his voice. Keanu leaned in, his voice low, steady. "You picked the wrong train." As the train slowed for the next station, the screech of brakes was like a release of tension. Outside, a crowd of commuters waited, oblivious to the drama inside. When the doors opened, passengers spilled out, shouting for help, pointing to the subdued robber. Transit police rushed aboard, their commands sharp, their weapons at the ready. Keanu raised his hand, stepping back, allowing the officers to take over. "He's all yours," he said simply, stepping aside as they handcuffed the struggling man. The tension in the car dissolved, replaced by a flood of relief and gratitude. As passengers collected their belongings, hands still shaking from the adrenaline, some exchanged nervous laughs, others wiped away tears, sharing in hushed tones the events of the day. The young mother approached Keanu, her voice quivering. "I don't know how to thank you. You saved us." Keanu offered a gentle smile, his demeanor calm. "I just did what needed to be done. Are you and your little one okay?" She nodded, holding her child close. "We'll be fine now, thanks to you." The teenage boy with the skateboard, his voice cracking with emotion, said, "That was incredible. I've never seen anything like it." Keanu gave him a nod. "You kept your cool. That's what matters." Passengers gathered around Keanu, offering thanks, their amazement palpable. "You're a true hero," an elderly woman said, her voice thick with emotion. Keanu shook his head modestly. "I'm just glad everyone's safe." That's what matters most. As the train resumed its journey, the atmosphere shifted from one of fear to something almost celebratory. Strangers who moments before were too scared to even make eye contact now spoke, laughed, and comforted each other, bonded by the experience they'd shared. When the train finally reached Sacramento, Keanu stood, gathering his things. As he made his way to the exit, someone called out, "You've got to let us buy you something for what you did." Keanu chuckled softly. "Maybe next time," he said, tipping his cap before stepping onto the platform. The passengers watched him leave, their faces glowing with gratitude and admiration, unaware that many would recount this story for years, remembering the day when an ordinary train ride turned into an extraordinary tale. But the lesson wasn't just in one man's bravery, it was a reminder that heroes can emerge from the most unexpected places, that sometimes all it takes is one act of courage to alter the course of many lives. As the train pulled away, life returned to normal for the passengers, but the memory of what they'd experienced was indelible. It wasn't just about the robbery or the shock of seeing a celebrity in action. It was about understanding what true courage looks like. Courage is not about the absence of fear, but acting in spite of it. Keanu didn't just save them. He showed them the power of standing up for what's right, even when the risks are high. In a world where many turn away or wait for others to act, this moment was a testament that heroism can be found in anyone. Whether grand or subtle, acts of courage have the power to inspire, unite, and protect. It was also a lesson in empathy. Keanu acted because he understood the fear and vulnerability around him. By choosing compassion and bravery, even in small doses, we contribute to making the world a little safer, a bit kinder for everyone. Each person left that train with more than just their possessions. They left with a story, a lesson, and perhaps a renewed faith in the goodness of humanity. Thank you for watching till the end video. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, don't hesitate to like the video and share it with your friends too. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell for more fascinating stories.